what we wanted to know here, what we're trying to find out is how do we know we're getting value for our tax dollars? And that's one of the issues with government jobs in general. Are more workers better than fewer workers? How can we tell? And other than teachers, police officers, firefighters, and the like, who really notices how many people are in the workforce? I mean, you notice if you have an incredible shortage of teachers and the classrooms are overcrowded and education may be compromised by that. You notice if there aren't enough cops on the street. You notice if there aren't enough firefighters and emergency workers to handle situations like that. But other than that, how do you really notice the impact of the job force on people? And finally, if there's no incentive to make an accurate count, then what do we really know about all this? So what are some of the answers? What are some of the fixes we have? We're trying to get around this. If this data should be available to anyone asking for it. I mean, I think since you can actually get the individual job counts from each government entity by calling it up and asking for it under public records laws, you ought to be able to get the whole thing. You should be able to get all 8,000 entities to provide all that information to you, and then you can do your own number crunching on that. Figure it out for yourself. The second thing is no one should get the data early. I think it ought to be against the law to release the data before the announced date and time. There should be severe penalties for that. And finally, we're having a way of reorganizing the Employment Security Commission, moving it into the Department of Commerce, which is in some ways a more politicized situation than you would have before. I would actually say that it would make more sense to move it to the Department of Labor, since we're dealing with labor stuff. And another advantage to that would be that the Department of Labor is headed by an elected commissioner who is someone who could actually be held more directly accountable if they start messing around with the job numbers.